Hey everyone, so this video is going to be a little bit different than normal. I am going to look at a project that I'm working on, go into a few technicalities about it, but for the most part, it's more of a discussion about game development in general, and that is how dissatisfaction and frustration can lead to feature creep, and then the project kind of collapsing in on itself under adding more and more features. So basically, there will be a simple gameplay loop I want to explore, such as an endless runner game. Okay. But as I'm working on it, I find that it's insufficient. I want there to be more features. I want there to be more options. I want there to be more content. That I don't want to just keep going left lane, middle lane, right lane, jump, dodge, rinse, and repeat. Even though that's the way endless runners work, I personally find myself wanting to bring more content to that. So like in this project, one of the things that I added to is that it really kind of stretches what an endless runner is, because rather than just being endless, that after a certain amount of time, there will be two exits, and then which exit you choose will bring you to the next section of the endless runner. But again, depending on which one you choose, depends on where you will land. So here you're starting outside the facility that you're going to be traveling in. So this is a one-off area. You're outside the facility. You're going to be running down the street. Then you have two choices at the end. One would bring you to a like an infirmary, and the other one would bring you to an IT area. And then there will be other areas that have combat that's more similar to, say, a top-down shooter rather than an endless runner. I suppose you could argue an endless runner is kind of derived of an auto scroller from the old days of arcade games. It's just that you have three specific lanes, whereas with most auto scrollers you could move freely. So let's run this so you can see what I've got so far. And I've got several levels. And again, the very fact that I say levels tell you that it has moved beyond a typical auto-scrolling endless runner. So there's things to jump over, there's power-ups to collect, lanes to be changed. Almost everything you see on the screen are assets from the asset store. Some of them are purchased, some of them were free to use. So really the only thing I did was the coding, putting everything together as far as what spawns when and where, the coding to make this actually scroll, because as I showed you in one of my other videos, that the road and the sidewalk aren't actually moving, that you can instead scroll the texture along the surface of the object. And so by doing that, it's the texture that's moving, not the object, and it will just endlessly scroll on and on and on. Whereas obviously these other obstacles are indeed really instantiating and moving towards the camera. Even the character herself, she was I believe that asset pack was Explorer Girl. I did a separate video if you want to check that out, showing pros and cons as far as how easy it is to add into a game, to implement into a project. And she comes with side strafing as well. She did not come with a roll mechanic, because usually in endless runners you have the ability to jump over something or you can roll under something like that. So looks like that's normal for her. It actually isn't. I went over to Mixamo, which if you're not familiar with, Mixamo is a place where you can upload a model such as an FBX and then add a pre-made animation to it. Now the model has to be rigged, and I believe it has to be rigged according to certain criteria for it to work. And then the pre-made animations will be applied to it. It's not perfect, but as you can see, that roll looks pretty solid. So yeah, so you can upload models to Mixamo and then add new animations, and then you download the animations to your project. Now, what you notice there is also different for endless runners, at least the one I've played, and that is you don't just keep running in the same area. You had a choice, and depending on which one you chose would depend on where you would land. So I went to the left, it brought me to like an infirmary. So you see crash carts, beds, med cabinets, things like that. But if I'd chosen the path on the right, it would be in an IT section. So there would have been servers, computers, electronics, things like that. This has like an MRI machine, and again, you've got a sink here, got some equipment up on the wall. And I'm not going to keep going to that level because I'm sure you've got the idea of how that works. Let's see if we can do this level. Okay, so this one is meant to be more fast-paced. So this one you basically, the other one you can avoid by going left or right and getting out of the lane. This one you have to dodge. So, or jump or dodge, I should say. So this one's meant to be a security area. And so that would be a jump, that would be a dodge, jump, jump. Now, obviously, the weakness with this is all three lanes are exactly the same, so I'll eventually want to break the laser up so as that it is different heights depending on which lane you're in, and that would determine if you want to jump or dodge. Technically, dodging or jumping shouldn't be any more difficult. They both should theoretically give you the same clearance, in my opinion. So, um, so technically, it shouldn't be any more difficult. But you can break things up by giving people a choice like that. So yeah, so this one's more of a security area. And yes, I could just integrate this with the other areas, but again, I'm trying to have like a theme to each area. I don't want to just like throw everything in the kitchen sink. I want to try to have a theme to what you're seeing. So one is IT, one is med, one is security. Let's go to another one. So I think I mentioned earlier, if not, I'm still trying to decide exactly what's going on at the facility. So in one of the levels, I have a placeholder zombie. One level, I have a drone boss. And again, that's something else that you usually don't have in Endless Run is you don't have combat. So even that, again, like I was saying at the beginning about how adding additional features, and it really kind of strains the initial gameplay loop to the point of breaking if you add too much to it, and then you start having to add more controls. So I believe this should be the zombie one. So if there's combat, that means there's an animation you haven't seen, and that's the shooting animation. So that you have the ability to shoot, and I actually hit a zombie. So you can avoid them, you can't jump over them, and if they hit you, one hit, you die. So need to do a couple things there. Would want you to have a death animation on your character, an attack animation on the part of the zombie. But again, this is a work in progress. So let's just do that a little bit more because I crashed into him intentionally. You can see got some pods here. So again, you didn't see those in the other areas. So trying to have a theme. The idea is that the zombies are coming out of the pods. So why isn't there a pod right behind the zombie? Simple. You wouldn't need to shoot the zombie. If there is a pod behind the zombie, well, you would have to dodge out of the lane anyways. So trying to encourage combat. So I don't know if the zombies will drop something maybe. Maybe they'll drop currency. Maybe they'll drop key cards. Maybe they'll drop notes if you're interested in story, and then in between plays you can read the notes, because these were more than likely employees, because that's what evil companies do. They always experiment on their employees. And then it's just a matter of how many different areas I'd come up with. So would there be, say, like an office area? And I also mentioned bosses. So let's take a look at that. I was working on that just before I started recording. So this is a drone. It has very simple, I won't call it AI, because it just moves all the way to the left and then move to the middle, all the way to the right, and then rinse and repeat. I might add like little thrusters so you get the sense that it's traveling backwards, because that's the whole idea is it's flying away from you but shooting at you. So it does have little turrets in the front here that will shoot eventually. But again, I was working on this just before I started recording. And I realized if I didn't record this now, I wouldn't have it up in time for Monday. So its basic movement is in place. And now it's just a matter of it shooting. And I think that I'm going to give it two attacks. One, it'll drop mines, which, sticking with the Endless Runner theme, you'd either have to jump over or you'd have to change lanes so you don't hit the mines. And then again, it also has turrets that I can shoot at. You can shoot at it, but right now it doesn't detect collisions. I do have a box collider on it. I do have a rigid body on it. I do have a script on it, but the script isn't checking for the collision yet. Also, right now there really isn't any limit to how fast you can fire, so I'll need to put something there to reduce how fast you can attack. But I think that really demonstrates what I was talking about, and that is starting with a simple endless runner, and I've already stretched it into other types of gameplay for good or for ill. So you have like boss battles here, and like I said in the other one, you had the zombies that you could fight or choose to avoid. And then the other levels are more typical endless runner where you dodge, roll, or jump. So I think that's about it. I really, like I said, I really didn't want to get technical into this one. I've already really covered all the elements of it. I covered, like I said, how I do the scrolling. Nothing's actually moving, it's just the texture. I covered how to do the spawning on top of it. I covered how to do the lane changes, how to use Explorer Girl. By the way, the more I have this character in the game, the more I think she has a limp. So I'm not sure if it's just an illusion, but it looks like she favors one leg over the other. So I'm not sure if that's just my imagination or if maybe the person who made it, I don't want to use the term messed up. That's kind of harsh, but I'm wondering if one leg step cycle is slightly faster than the other one. I'm not 100% certain yet. So I think that's about it. So I just want to give you a little insight into yet another project that I'm working on, and that hopefully someday I'll actually complete one of these. I did complete one. Town Guardian is a complete game, and that is available on itch.io if you want to check it out. I do want to add a second mode to it, making it a proper um, tower defense, but that was not the original intention. The original intention was more of an arcade style shooter where you just fight off waves of enemies. But I tried to give players options as far as how they can play the game, and that there was already in that game elements of a lane-based combat system. The fact that there's something like 8 different lanes that the enemies can spawn in. So I think that's about it for now. So hope you found this interesting. If you have any questions about the design process, feel free to let me know, and please enjoy the rest of your day.